having like these quarterly socials, and really the function of the social is to get people together, get people talking, allow our members access to the board of directors, kind of meet some of our newer staff, and really create transparency for Pisgah Sorba. We've been trying to really rotate the meeting locations from Brevard to kind of middle ground here into Asheville also. So every quarter you'll see these meetings coming up. And we really just want to give updates to the community about what we're working on, what some of the goals are we have in the future, and some of the previous work that we've gotten done in the last 6 months or year. I think the first thing I just wanted to, about 5 years ago, I met Austin. We were doing a trail crew leading session together. Austin has been a phenomenal supporter of his area Sorba. Not only is he a trail crew leader, but he's also a trail adopter, and his business has been super supportive of Pisgah Sorba, all the way from when Austin was like a part-time thing for him, all the way to now, and he's just helped the club out tremendously over the years. And Austin's like the guy that just takes care of stuff. Like, we don't have to like ask him ever. It's just like a check shows up where he takes care of trail adoption. So just Austin, everything you've done for the organization and your wife, we really appreciate you. Just, I think, a round of applause for Austin. Next up, we're gonna have Jared talk a little bit about what's going on with Butter Gap. In the last few months, we went through a process of, we really wanted to have essentially a part-time inspector kind of watch the construction. Like, once the contractors start, we evaluated several kind of resumes, applications. Jared's been out in the field for a couple of years looking at the project, looking at the alignment, working really closely with the Forest Service staff, and then working on some of the NEPAs and the environmental clearance to get the construction underway with Jared. So with that, Jared, we're delighted to have him help us at a professional capacity now to watch this project, but he's going to give us a few updates on the Butter Gap project, like where we're at and the upcoming schedule.
Thanks, Greg. All right, let me grab my notes and my glasses. We've got some maps of the new butter alignment. I know I've got a copy. Natalie's gotten printed some off as well. So if you want to come up and take a look at those afterwards, I'll be hanging around after the meeting's over. If you have any questions the same, just kind of come up afterwards and we'll go over that. Kind of our most recent update, the NEPA study's finally done. Kind of the first of this month that was completed. So we've got the memo decision from the Forest Service and notice to proceed from the state for the RTP grant. So we've been in discussion with Rock Solid, who was awarded the contract, and they're looking at starting the first of the year. So, like first week of January, tentatively being done by April, May, of course, depending on weather and everything like that. So in the meantime, kind of leading up to that, we're going to be holding some public work days out there. Those go towards our RTP grant funding, kind of our matching grant that kind of we have to pay $25,000 to match the grant, or we can do volunteer hours to match that. So we'll have some work days leading up to the start of the construction, plus some work days going on during the construction with Rock Solid as well. So their basic construction plan, they're going to have a four-person crew running 1 or 2 pieces of equipment, U-17 Kubotas, which is I think about a 2-ton excavator. Plan is to have a nice narrow single track, 2 to 3 foot wide tread. The corridor may be a little bit wider than that, kind of depending on how the terrain is. They're going to start at the upper part of Butter, kind of build that first top loop, and then before they decommission the old section of the Butter. So we're hoping to be able to have as much trail open kind of going on throughout the project. And then the middle section will be kind of a maintenance going on during that same time as well. We may have to close down that section during the maintenance just because there's no alternate routes to kind of send traffic through. And then the lower section will go kind of right as you get past Long Branch That will be the new section down all the way to the fish hatchery, and then the connector from Butter to Cat Gap will be closed, and then it will build a new hike-only trail, and then Cat Gap will become hike-only after that is all constructed. So basically, this April 15th, when the seasonal trails open, you'll have your opportunity to get out there and ride it in the old corridor. You know, Butter's always open, but Cat's the lower part of its closed season. And then kind of once that construction is done, you know, in October 15th, you better start riding. April 15th, at 24th it'll close, and that'll probably be kind of final closing for bikes on the lower part of Cat Gap. Yes.
I think I saw that Shrimper was doing some work in that same area.
Yes.
Is that going to be at the same time, so those two things linked up?
There's the Pisgah Conservancy is handling that contract.
Yeah.
They haven't got a timeline out yet, but they're hoping to have it kind of all done at the same time. They may get started on it sooner, depending on their contractors. The Shrimper was selected for that, so kind of depending on what his schedule's like. I believe they'll have it going around the same time. So hopefully by middle of next year, both projects will be done at the same time, or similar timeline. So you'll be able to ride that entire loop, basically up Searcy Road, from Davidson River Road or from Long Branch, and then you'll be able to ride down Butter all the way back down to the hatchery. So it'll be kind of a nice big loop, 10, 12 miles, less gravel, with car traffic when that occurs. I think that's kind of the bulk of it. We want to go take questions, or anybody has any other questions about timelines or trail construction?
Could you repeat that so you could write it until October and then it's closed?
No, I got it backwards. October 15th, Cat Gap open season. So a lot of people don't ride Butter when they have to climb out Long Branch when Cat's not open in the summer. So this October, when Cat becomes open to bikes, you'll be able to ride the entire trail. Construction won't start till January. Then there may be some limitations, according to construction plans. But then April 15th of 24 will be closed down to bikes. Depending on when the project is complete, it could be sooner. And then after that point, that Cat Gap section will become hike-only. But you'll have a year-round section of Butter that you can ride from Cathy's Creek Road all the way down to the fish hatchery. That'll be open year-round. So it's kind of the dedicating. Yes, to help kind of reduce user conflicts. That's kind of why bikes aren't allowed on Cat during the summer, because there's so much traffic. We've got a trail counter out there, and there's a couple thousand people a month hiking that loop. So in the summer, so that's kind of, I think, the reason why the Forest Service doesn't want bikes flying down it at the same time as people are hiking on it.
Jared?
Yes.
Sorry if I missed this. Where Long Branch comes into Searcy there, is any work going to be done on that section there where it's...
On the Long Branch section
Long
itself?
Branch being touched at all or no?
No, it's not.
Okay.
The preliminary plan, it showed some bits and pieces of Long Branch being rerouted, but the Forest Service is now kind of looking at an overall bigger reconstruction of Long Branch. So instead of putting money into that now and then a few years down the road, that all having to change. So we just decided to focus just on the Butter and then Pisgah Conservancy on the TPC. Yes.
Not intending to open a loaded question or anything, but I've noticed a good bit of, contention on the contractor selection. I noticed there was already an effort to make an education of what's going on.
Yes.
Is there kind of a continued attempt to educate and kind of explain the contractor selection stuff to kind of quiet some of that discontent and increase support?
I think we've answered most of the questions with that FAQ that was put out. We haven't received, I don't believe, a lot more any further questions. But if you do have those, feel free to reach out to us, to the board. I kind of feel like we answered most of that FAQ that was put out.
We also have that Q&A. I printed some out in case people did have questions and happened to show up tonight. I have a lot of them printed over here that y'all can look at. But Jacob, basically, we'll keep reiterating what we've already explained to the community, and like that has all of the answers in it with the due diligence and the process. So when questions do come up, we'll probably point people back to like, this is the communication that's been put out, and continue to reiterate that communication in like newsletters and basically like keep linking it. Because we very well know also like from this experience that just because we put something out there into the public doesn't necessarily mean that everybody has had eyes on it and that like everyone saw it. So we need to kind of like be a broken record a little bit and like keep getting it out there, even if it's the same information. Yeah. If there's other questions that were not answered in that Q&A, like we're happy to talk about them tonight too.
And then, like there'll be more details coming on butter kind of as things get finalized on official construction dates, and then we have to kind of pass things through the Forest Service because they've got other projects going on at the same time. So as we get more kind of the go ahead from them, we can pass that along to the public as well through our social media, newsletters, etc. Anything else? Yeah.
Are you guys gonna set up like a regular rotation with the volunteer days out there?
Yeah, so we'll probably be going like monthly or maybe other month, having work days out there. We'll put those out through our Sign Up Genius, and then we'll put those links out on social media for people to be able to go through and sign up for the work days on that as well.
We're going to try to be cautious with the volunteer trail work, let the professionals kind of get their equipment and everything going in there, and let them kind of let us know where they're going to need help, and we'll schedule those.
Access is really hard to butter. That's why I was kind of curious how you guys are going to handle that volunteer work when you can't get to it.
Yeah, it would pretty much be either from the fish hatchery working our way up, or from Kathy's Creek working our way down. Which we will have access to those gates, so we can shuttle some crews in a little further. Once the construction crew gets here and gets started, then we'll work with them to see what they want us to help with. We've already got a really good start on hours. We had a work day last month, just kind of brushing the lower portion the lower portion of middle butter that is remaining. That's there is just getting heavy maintenance, but it's going to remain in that corridor. So we've already done some brushing there, and we've got another probably day's worth of brushing to do out there. And all those hours again go to the kind of RTP grant match. Anything else?
Thanks, Jared. So I don't remember if Craig introduced himself. Craig is our board president. So he's been phenomenal as a volunteer. All of our board members are volunteers. So Craig is our president. Thank you, Craig. Jared is our field inspector for Butter Gap. I'm Natalie, I'm our director, just so y'all get names. Hopefully the name tags help with that, but those are the folks we've talked so far. These maps that Jared was referencing, so after we finish our little update portion, we'll have some more like socialization time, and if y'all have other questions, please come up and ask any of us, and we'll have these maps, and I also have a bunch of really cool, if you're like a data geek like I am, and you want to see data on the trail counter usage, we have 3 trail counters out there in the forest, and I printed off a bunch of graphs that we'll put up here if you all would like to look at them after as well. And before we get into our next little thing, Craig, do you want to give a little update on some trail etiquette?
Yeah.
Maybe in like conditions like this?
Again, I think everybody knows it's been pretty dry, like the last month or so, really dry. A lot of the creeks are down. There's a lot of rain coming. We've seen a little bit of rain the last few days. I think the big thing is just being cognizant of that rain. I was just at a Bent Creek, I think maybe yesterday, and it was raining. It was really good to see. The parking lots were pretty quiet. So I think just kind of educating the public. It's not great to like intentionally ride wet trails. And as always, if you see or hear trail condition issues out there, please report that to us. Tyler is our trail crew coordinator, and then Tyler gets that information out to our other trail crew leaders who are in different areas of the forest. So if you just communicate that back to us, then just again educating people professionally about the right trail etiquette, right? And that's mountain bikers should always be yielding to other trail users. So hikers and equestrian always have right of way over mountain bikers. A downhill mountain biker needs to stop for a climbing mountain biker. Just be pro about that and share the forest with everybody. So.
Hey, Greg, quick question for you. So, DuPont actually closes when it's 2 ways, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever thought of maybe having, you can't enforce it, putting up a sign at the trailheads when it's really heavy rains to say, conditions are wet, consider not riding. PAS.
We could do that, Leroy, but ultimately it's a Forest Service that has that kind of jurisdiction and enforcement.
Well, we're not enforcing, we're just suggesting as PAS, right?
Yeah.
It's the right thing to do.
We can definitely talk to the Forest Service about that. Yeah. I mean, I feel like a lot of riders are pretty responsible about it, but there are still people
2
that.
days ago, this weather's shit, you know that.
Yeah, and there are people.
I'm riding gravel because of it.
Yeah.
And there must have been 3 times more mountain bikers going around, mudding it up. I'd
Well,
love to mud it up.
We'll ask the Forest Service about it for sure.
And there also is, I think that DuPont's is phrase, and there's definitely someone in the room who can help correct me if I'm wrong, but is it a trail advisory? Like, it's not a full closure of the trail, but it's just an advisory.
So there's political reasons why it's a trail advisory, and it has to do with the fact that we're in the middle of summer. It's really hard to convince Raleigh to allow us to close the trails when we get a lot of rain. So an advisory is the next best thing. We like locals to consider that a closure.
Awesome. Sarah Landry is
Just a little flag,
Yeah.
Those who want to do it, they'll do it. Those who don't,
Thanks. Sarah's the director of Friends of DuPont. And I know state forests, different regulations at times than we're working with the U.S. Forest Service, but that is, LaRue, it's a problem for sure. Also tell all your friends to not ride when it's wet. I know you do. All right. Next, yeah.
Is there, not a criticism, is there a way we can contribute to get the trail status updates on the bottom of the Sorba site?
Yeah, I believe those pull in from Trail Forks. So if you want to pull, like if you want to submit to Trail Forks if you're riding, that automatically should be pulling in. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You're like, I don't want to do that, but yeah. Do you have anything to add about Trail Forks?
What it's doing is just pulling in anything that's red for something major, orange for significant. If it's green, it's not for pulling in the trail. It's been a while since I've seen that portion.
Yeah.
It all takes your trail work. So you could be on the trail with no service, do a trail report in Trail Forks, and when you hit self-service, it will hold up.
And I think one of the hardest things that we run into is like, so I live up closest to Bent Creek. In Bent Creek, the conditions could be fine, and then I might talk to Tyler, who's like, I just left the forest down in Brevard, and it's like dumping rain. And so the conditions can be different in different areas that we maintain, so that also makes it tough for like, we can't really make a blanket statement of our trails, or we advise you to not ride all of them, or like these individual trails. Yeah, okay, we can chat.
A good thing to pay attention to is WNC bike conditions. If you're on Facebook group. Typically, if you don't see anybody talking about riding, that means no one's riding. Then people are bitching about butter. But pay attention to that. That's where I kind of take my cue. If Friends of DuPont has posted something, it probably means the forest is about to get dumped on. So I would almost just follow that alert more. Because it's the Forest Service is not going to tell us we're going to let you do whatever you want. It's good to
All right. Moving on. So it is the 30th, which means that 8 days ago, the U.S. Forest Service closed public comment on the proposed permit system that for the fee system. We're not going to know for a while what is happening. That next step of that is that the U.S. Forest Service is going to compile all of the public comments and the organizational comments that are submitted. They're going to send it off to the RAC, which is the committee that they formed to review it. that committee has not been formed yet, and so I think it's going to take a while. It's going to take a long time for them to actually go through the next process that is laid out by the Forest Service. So we're probably not going to have any updates for a long time. And if it does get the approval, the RAC committee will make a suggestion to an individual in the Forest Service, and then that one individual, he's the one that will say like a yes or a no. And even when it gets to that point, then it comes back, and then it's like, okay, now we're going to discuss implementation, and we're going to have to figure out how we're actually going to run through this and everything. So it's going to take, I mean, I don't want to put a time frame on it, but do not anticipate anything in the next year, I would say, of like actual definitive answers from what's going on with the permit. But what the permit did bring up is that we got a lot of questions, comments, advocating one way or the other for e-bike access. A lot of people were saying like, if I pay, is that going to change accessibility? Is that not going to change accessibility? As an organization, Pisgah Area Sorba, we're not advocating for or against increasing e-bike access in the forest at this time, but we have launched a research program, and we're developing like a community survey so we can put in our due diligence to gather as much data as we can about e-bikes, about other organizational policies, about other land manager policies, and then put a survey to the community so we can truly hear like the voice of our bikers as to would there be an interest in expanding e-bike access or limiting e-bike access more in the forest, and if so, what could that potentially look like? We have had conversations with the Forest Service, and we've mentioned this at other chapter updates about if they will be opening regulation or changing regulation, or like what their response to the e-bike industry boom it has been. And we want to be prepared for those conversations as representatives of the community, and not just as like a room of 10 people making a decision on behalf of the entire community. So stay tuned in the next couple months for a community survey that will help educate us to make a really informed decision as to like what direction Pisgah Area Sorba is going to go. It's also a very divisive topic, and we all know that. So if you do have thoughts or comments, we're happy to hear them, and please recognize that not everybody has the same thoughts or comments. Any questions about that? Thoughts or comments you can tell me individually after, but we won't put forward to it now. Yeah.
Does Sorba have a decision on the proposed fees?
Yeah, we submitted our public comment. It is on our website if you want to go read it. We basically, there's not enough information to say yes or no, because the implementation system is like not clear enough for us to say we would support it or not. But we have a lot of suggestions and we have concerns, so we list out in that public comment. But yeah, you can go read it. It's posted on our website.
Do we know how the committee who reviews the comments is going to select?
You know, I can't remember off the top of my head as to who. I think people are nominated to be put on that committee, but I can't fully remember because I was looking to see who was on the committee and it hasn't been formed yet. Yeah, but I can try to look that up and send it to you. It's somewhere deep within the U.S. Forest Service website language.
Yeah, it would be nice if we could get some over.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good point. All right. Next on the docket, and this, if y'all come to our other chapter updates, we're trying a little bit different this time. We really want to make sure there's like social engagement allowed for people, so we're not just talking at you for like an hour. And so not every committee is going to be giving an update. So I'm going to run through a little bit of like fundraising shout outs, upcoming events, and then kind of like wrap it up and then allow time for looking over maps and talking with each other. And the point of the name tags, one, it's fun, and two, that way if you have questions, you can go up and ask an individual, like if you have a question specific to something that I said, if you have a question about butter, if you have a question about what Craig's favorite trail is, like anything like that, you can actually engage with the board and with folks a little bit easier. So that's the intention of these socials. So we're going to try to not talk too much longer. Some fundraising updates. I do want to give some shout outs to some folks that have been supporting us either by like renewing their industry partnership or starting a program at their business, things like that. So these are newer. So shout out to Cognative, They just added a button for a donation addition when you like purchase things from them, and they're going to donate a portion of their annual passes to us, which is amazing. We're supportive of that. Walnut Cove Bike Crew were very supportive of us. We really appreciate them. Bicycle Thrift Shop, Blue Ridge Adventures has given us a donation. Lux Linear Drains re-upped their donation, and then our July donation drive. We raised over $4,500 from our July donation drive, which was huge. First time we've ever had a July donation drive, so that was also exciting. And 2 of the winners are in the room. I'm not going to call them out, but David and Colin are here. And they got their prizes, which is really exciting. And then some of the other prizes had to be shipped because folks, it was cool, folks were entering that didn't necessarily live in the area, which is neat because that just means that the work we do out there on the trails is also impacting people outside of Western North Carolina. So we're really excited about these fundraising efforts. Everything relies on money, and obviously the Forest Service doesn't have the funds, hence the fee, to give us money to do the trail work for them. So we really, really are appreciative of any donation and support that can be given. Some upcoming events. This is pretty exciting. Fall is heavy for us. It's pretty busy. We have our fall bike giveaway. Our fall bike giveaway is going to launch in October. That will run through November. Get really stoked. It's a sweet custom build. I'm not going to give anything else away. I have pictures, but you can't see the pictures for a while. It's going to be really cool. So get excited about our fall giveaway. Take a Kid Mountain Biking Day. It is at Richmond Hill up in Asheville. That's October 7th. Maybe don't show up if you don't have a child. That might be a little bit weird. But take a Kid Mountain Biking Day. The intention is to get children on bikes, to get kids on bikes, kids that have never ridden a bike before, have them. We're partnering up with the city of Asheville to host this event, and with Kids Cycle to host this event. It's really, really awesome. So if you have friends that have kids, if you have kids, if you have nieces and nephews, neighbors, whatever, it's a really cool opportunity to get them out on a bike out of Richmond Hill.
And if you know people that are interested in volunteering, we still need some volunteers. So we would love your support in that way.
Yes. If you want to show up to help teach kids how to ride a bike, that's okay. If you don't have a kid, you can still show up to do that and volunteer. The I-9PA party, it is actually, I didn't realize this, but it is the 10th year of the I-9PA party. There wasn't one during COVID, so it's not 10 consecutive, but it's the 10th year of it. This year it's going to be October 21st at Rabbit Rabbit again, and it's going to be a costume party. So get really stoked for that. There'll be a raffle, costume party, Kids Cycle will be there again. We'll have some booths. It's going to be really fun. So mark your calendars for that, October 21st. And then lastly, our volunteer appreciation party is going to happen. We're in the process of planning it. It likely will happen the beginning of December. So just keep eyes on our social media, newsletter, etc. For our event that I get really stoked about, which is honoring our volunteers. That said, I might not be at the volunteer appreciation event in December because I'm having a baby, if you didn't notice. I am going to head out on maternity leave, and this is likely going to be the last chapter update that I'll be at until 2024. But in the interim, while I am out on maternity leave, we are going to bring on an interim director who's going to help keep up the consistency, keep up the communication, keep the organization with this awesome forward momentum that it has. So we're really, really excited. We'll announce more about that and who it is later when things are finalized. But there will be an individual stepping in to my shoes when I leave. So you can, if I'm emailed with you can still email me. It'll just go to somebody else for a couple months. All right, before we break, to get more food, beverage, to chat, ask questions, there's going to be maps up here and the trail counter data, which I'll bring up. But does anybody have any group questions or clarifications on anything that's been said tonight, or any board members that want to add something?
I just wanted to add, Natalie, that just so people are clear, the Industry 9, the I-9 party that they host, that is a fundraiser specifically for Pisgah Sorba. all the raffle items that are at that evening, which are phenomenal. There's like $15,000 to $20,000 in the bike parts. All those dollars come back to Pisgah Sorba. I-9 sets that party up, and a proceeds, there's a certain beer that Rabbit brews. I think it's $1 or $2 from every beer that night comes to Pisgah Sorba. So definitely get people to come out. It's a great party. It's a great time. There's a lot of board members, trail crew leaders are there. A lot of the I-9 staff, a lot of King Creek and Fox, they show up. So spread the word about that party and drive people there. It's usually a big evening for us. That helps us do all of our trail work, helps pay for Natalie and Jared, the trail equipment, gas, and everything else. So definitely like spread the word in the community. So
It's also, there's a silent disco afterwards, which is like also very fun. So if you don't like IPAs and you don't like costumes, but you like dancing with headphones on, but no one can hear the music that you're listening to, it's a really fun time. You should come out. Other board members or questions, comments, Tyler?
Yeah, if y'all don't know me already, I'm Tyler, Trail Crew Coordinator. Anyone interested in volunteering to dig in dirt, to do things outside, not on your bike, and you want to help us on the trails, come see me, and I can tell you the best ways to do that.
Hey Tyler, are we rescheduling the trail crew leader?
Yes, November, I forget the date, it's going to be early
Tentatively,
November.
it's November 4th.
November 4th. And I'll be sending us a date on it.
Our volunteers, last I checked, which is about 3 weeks ago, our volunteers have put in over 2,500 hours into the forest, which is phenomenal. It's really hard to wrap your brain around like what that means, but last year, that was about our max for the entire year. So our volunteers have like truly been killing it out there and putting in tons and tons and tons of hours, which is really incredible. So if you see somebody that has a green sticker or it says Trail Crew on their name tag, thank them, because they've been doing a lot of work.
To put that in money perspective, that's about $75,000 of labor we're giving to the forest.
So far this year, and
Just this year.
we're just getting into September.
And Luru, in terms of the trail crew leader training, we're working with John Lane, kind of one of our better trail crew leaders. John's a licensed general contractor, serious rider, lives in Bent Creek. He's the trail crew coordinator for the Bent Creek area, the area coordinator. And for the first time, we're going to be paying one of our trail crew leaders to help with the training. So John's going to be doing like a 2-day session. We're working on the details in November, but it'll be really good. Just have his expertise, carpentry, field experience, his equipment experience, all those things to offer to people. So.
Great. Normally, Cognative BrewHouse closes at 7. They're going to stay open.
Yeah, so the bar is going to close down in about 10 minutes. So if you want to get anything else to eat or drink, go ahead and do that. More than welcome to stay afterwards. As long as I'm here, you can buy a barrel. One thing to note too is Pisgah Sorba, certain partners offer membership perks, and we're one of them. We're actually running our Labor Day sale right now, which is a short period of time, 20% off. But as a member, you can get that any time of the year. You can use a code on the website, or you can walk in here. You have to ask for it. It's in the system and everything. So just keep that in mind. That's another. Honestly, if you buy enough stuff, you'll get your membership for free. See, there you go. Right? Yeah, so if you want to get anything, just next 5 or 10 minutes, and then merch sales, it doesn't matter as long as I'm here.
Thank y'all. Drink some beer. Have fun. Thank you.